All right. Hey, what's up, guys? Coach Mack, Play Fast Football. Jumped on a couple minutes early, fired up, ready to go. Alabama just got their five-star receiver back, Ryan Williams. A couple huge pickups in the transfer pool. So, again, like I said all along, I thought they were in a good spot. I wasn't really panicking. Caleb Downs was a huge loss for us. Best freshman in the country. No way to possibly replace that at the current moment. Caden Proctor was a huge loss. Obviously, as one of the best offensive linemen in the country, Isaiah Bond, take it for what it's worth. Good player, but certainly replaceable. But we just got Ryan Williams back. All is good. So I am on a little bit early, fired up, ready to go. Sorry, it's a little bit dark in here. I had a light go out that I could not replace. And just like most of my videos and everything I do, there's no edits, there's no adjustments, so it's a little bit dark in here. But just wanted to jump on tonight, our weekly live. Appreciate you all joining us here. Take any questions, anything you got, offense, defense, special teams, football, college, NFL, whatever it is. We'll take all those questions. Hopefully, we'll get some interaction going between community members, people posting their takes on whatever topics we are talking about tonight, asking their questions, giving their responses. So our weekly check-in, my weekly check-in with the PlayFast community, see what's going on out there, see what everybody's up to, what's going on, what you have going on, see where everybody is in the off season, see what everybody is in the clinic season, see what everybody's studying, what everybody's doing. Just our basically weekly check-in and my weekly check-in to say thank you to everybody that is here. Yeah, Coach Matt, I don't know if I answered that or not. That question is always, it's always a debate. It's a debate for us every year. It's a debate for everybody every year. I actually was talking to my head coach yesterday about, at what point do we decide that we don't need to be different? We can just line up and play football with some solid schemes. The rosters I've coached over the years have always had to be a little bit different. We've had to probably carry a few more concepts than most people just because we need to be different. At some point you wonder, how much do you sacrifice trying to be different? How much can you carry? How much can your kids do? There's some years where we don't carry many concepts at all because we're new, we're young. Maybe, years I was new to the program, taking different jobs. But when I've got returning players, returning coaching staff, and, we've got some investment. 5 offensive concepts, run, pass. Like, I don't know what you're asking me. The first thing I can tell you is I would be a gap scheme team 190%. So power, counter, duo, buck sweep, anything that's gap related, I would 100% do that. Defensively, it would probably depend on your personnel, body types you have. Easiest thing I can tell you, 4-2-5, split field coverage, quarters, toolbox, plug and play, the easiest thing you can do. So, I'm not really sure conceptually what you're asking me. Offensively, like I said, I would be gap scheme, power counter, buck at least. If I could get to the dual world, that would be great. I would certainly carry RPOs off my gap schemes. Drop back passing wise, it depends on your personnel, your lineman, your quarterback, but something that definitely stretches the field vertically, whether or not that's 4 verts, completely up to you. And I would spend more of my time in the quick and intermediate passing game. I would spend more of my time with throws I know we can make, routes I know we can run. And I would attack it that way. That would just be my opinion. What do you got going on, Tony? The Rangers Islanders tonight, or Knicks Nets was last night? There can't be a hell of a lot going on in the New York scene tonight. Yeah, so again, Matt, I would say gap schemes, power counter, buck. Passing game wise, I would focus way more on quick game and intermediate stuff with RPOs, and then I would have some play action shots to push the field, and then, vertically third down stuff. Four verts is a choice for everybody. Mesh is a choice for everybody. I've always been a three-man scat guy, snag, corner, flat, build a lot of our variation off that. And yes, certainly I would certainly be a boot and a waggle guy. Got to move the pocket. Oh, you got to go upstate, Tony Bananas. Terrible. Terrible going upstate. Never a good deal. So, I would definitely waggle and boot. I agree with Joe there. I would, if you can carry some sprint out stuff, you got to move the pocket. You got to change the launch point. Those are things you absolutely have to do. But I think just, and again, I talk to people all the time about this. I think personally where people make mistakes is getting too involved in drop back passing. I think drop back passing in high school is a crapshoot. Your offensive line's protection, your ability to throw the football down the field, the ability for your quarterback to go through progression 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a bunch of beautiful drop back concepts you can draw up. They look great on a napkin. They're like blitzes. They all look beautiful. I just don't know how many you can really execute from year to year. I've never been a huge fan of multiple drop back concepts in high school. That's just my opinion. That's just the way I think. So I try to carry, like for us, we were always 100% three-man snag, carried curl flat just about forever because it stood the test of time. There were some years we carried drive or shallow cross. There were some years we carried mesh. It just depended on the personnel and the roster that we had. But I never, ever got too involved into heavy drop back schemes. I just don't think it's a way to live in high school. Again, my opinion, doesn't make it right. There's certainly people that do it better than I do. I don't, I'm not here to say that that's the be all end all. I'm just telling you what I would do. If you're asking my personal opinion, I would be, yeah, I mean, it's still the same thing. If you don't have that arm talent, are you really going to throw post over dig or dig over post, however you want to look at it? Like, I'm not sure if you can throw those digs down the field, but you got to attack vertically somehow. So you're going to have to carry something vertically to stretch the field. You're going to have to carry something for your third down and 12. Hopefully you're not in those situations, but when you are, you can't just run spacing or quick game concepts. You got to be able to carry something. But whatever you choose, Matt, is completely up to you. I just wouldn't carry 17 drop back concepts. I don't think you can throw them enough. I don't think you can practice them enough. I don't think you can keep the quarterback upright enough. Maybe your football is different than ours, but yeah, sprint out's okay in high school. I mean, obviously you got more guys that are athletic enough to sprint out, but they become half field concepts, which again, probably a lot of high school quarterbacks can't really progress in drop back anyway. So why not just make them half field concepts? I certainly think that with certain quarterbacks and rosters in high school, I certainly think the sprint out world is probably a better way to live. How you protect sprint out, again, always becomes an issue because you can't cut. So, are we reaching the front side, waterfall on the back side? Where are we putting it back? Are we turning everybody back and putting it back on the edge, but he can't cut? That to me becomes a little bit of an issue, but you're moving a pocket, so it's not that bad. Yeah, I agree with that, Tony. I think, whether it's semi-pro, high school, Pop Warner, junior high, whatever it is, the lower levels of football, I don't know how good we can get at drop back passing. I don't know what we can possibly think we're going to get good at year to year. So it's just, for me, it's just not a way to live. Opinion, I don't, people that want to live in a drop back world, that's fine. Obviously, there's a ton of beautiful concepts and theories that you can draw up, and it's again, off season wise, it's always a great place to start because there's so many things you can draw up. But I just once the season gets into fruition and the bullets start flying, it just always to me was one of those things. And you got to think about how many times you're going to throw the ball a game. So if you throw the ball 20 times a game and you're throwing screens, play action shots, RPOs, or quick game, what's left for drop back? So if 5 or 6 of your 20 calls are drop back, how many concepts do you really need if you're only going to drop back 5 times? Now, if you're one of the people that throw it all over the yard and you drop back 50 times a game, well, then certainly I would carry more concepts, right? So philosophically, who you are, what you do, what you want to do, to me personally, kind of dictates how many things you should carry or maybe you want to carry. Um, but just if you're asking my opinion of doing this for a long time at the high school level, I certainly would not get deeply involved in drop back passing. I just don't think that's a way that you want to live. Now, here's, I don't want to sound hypocritical, but um, here's kind of a different philosophy. If you could protect the quarterback and you could progress through 3 to 4 reads and you had the talent at the quarterback and receiver level and the O-line level to throw the ball, I think you could have a ton of success in high school throwing the ball, because I think a lot of people struggle with coverages. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't understand how to truly match in zone principles. And there's a lot of people out there that play a ton of man stuff simply because it's easier for them to play. So all things considered, if you could protect, keep a guy upright, had the arm strength, had the IQ at quarterback, receivers could run choice or option routes, and you could work on those things as much as you wanted to, I think you could certainly have success throwing the football. But I just think the average high school program across the nation, across the country, internationally, I think you'd have a lot more success focusing on, intermediate quick passing game, RPOs, screens, boots, waggles, things of that nature. So, for you, would leaving a coaching job that's just coaching but hourly pay for a job that you will have on campus hourly and give you a stipend to coach? Are you asking me? If you're asking me which one I would choose in this profession, I always choose the on-campus job because I want to be there. I want to know who the kids are. I want to have a relationship with the kids. But if you had an off-campus job that paid you a ton of money and you still had the ability to put the hours in to be a football coach, then economically that's probably the better choice, because teaching-wise we're limited with what the salary is going to be. If it was economically drastically different, and I could make a ton of money doing something and then I could coach football because I love it and I could put the same time in, I would choose that. If it was in the same ballpark economically, I would 100% always choose to be on campus, because I think those coaches relate to players better, seeing kids every day, being involved with kids every day, knowing how your kids act and not just coaching them 2 hours a day. I mean, I would always choose that route if I could, but I certainly understand. Obviously, as a head coach, we need adjunct and off-campus guys. We can't find enough teachers to coach. And I would also, economically, if I had a choice to make a ton of money and still coach football, well, hell yeah, I would do that too. Again, if it doesn't affect you economically and the choice is in the ballpark economically for how you live, I would take any job on campus, especially if it's a chance to run the football program. If I was going to run a football program, I would never do it from off campus. That's just, that's just me. I think you can do it. I think people have done it. But if I was going to choose to run a football program, I would highly recommend being in the building. Yeah, if you're not in the school, you definitely have to go out of your way to create those relationships. They're tough to do 2 hours at a time, football only. So I certainly agree with that. Yes, being on campus to protect kids from a lot of things. Football players have a target on their back to begin with. Trying to change the culture of that, trying to change the mindset of that. You know, of what football players are, how they act, how they're treated, and how they deserve to be treated. Right? If football players paint themselves in that picture, then you know what? So be it. You deserve to be treated that way. But if you approach it a little bit differently, then then I think we've got to change the mindset of how teachers look at football players, and we got to change how we act. We got to change what we do on campus. So I agree with all those things, Tony. I am a split field coverage quarters toolbox team. So if I was 4-2-5, which we were for 6 or 8 years with a lot of success, I would always start quarters, and I would always start, with our split field coverage concepts. Blitzes, you know, That's blitzes can be flavor of the week, whatever you want. Certainly six-man pressures with the Mike and the Will, crossfire A-gap stuff, double-edge stuff, sending, maybe the Will and the nickel, single fire stuff. So you can be 303 deep, 402 deep, man free. That to me is the easy part. The pressure stuff is the easy part. It's the base concepts. Um, how you fit runs, how you play fronts, how you declare strengths, how you set up your guys to coverage. That to me is the bigger part. The blitzes, I think you can get to blitzes and pressures from any structure. That's just my opinion. I'm off campus and head coach at my current school, but another school reached out to me on campus. Again, it's always hard to leave a job. I've only left one time on my own, and that was after 14 years of being at a place. The other two times I've left, it's because they got rid of me. So always tough to leave a place, always tough to leave your kids. But, at the end of the day, at some point, I've now learned, at 51 years old and 24, 25 years of doing this, at some point, you got to think about yourself. I lived in a world where for a long, long time, I thought about nothing but the program, the kids, the players on, the players in the program, the coaches on my staff. And I thought if I leave or I make a decision, how does that affect them? And a lot of the times I didn't pursue things maybe I should have pursued. And now that I'm old enough to understand I got to take care of me, at some point you got to make decisions that are best for you, right? So, Jim Harbaugh is going to have to tell Michigan he left, and Alabama, Saban had to tell him, Alabama that he retired. So at some point you got to make that move, and you got to take care of yourself. Yeah, I get that, Cody. I don't think that's everybody though. I don't think everybody can. That's part of the business, the territory. Having experience and creating relationships. I'm not saying off-campus guys don't have relationships. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is I want to be involved with everything that goes on the campus. I want to know who the kids are. I want to see what they do in gym class when they're supposed to lift. I want to see what they do in their other classes. Like that's a big deal for me. So I would always choose a place that I wanted to be at. And not to me, again, if I had a choice to make a ton of money and be off campus and it was economically better for me, then hell yeah, I would do it. I think I could build relationships with kids being off campus. I think a lot of guys can. Um, but as a head coach or, I would always want to be at the place I'm coaching. I want to represent the school. I want to represent the program. I want to be there for other sports. I want to be a face in the community. I want to do all those things. So again, my opinion. Yeah, you're always going to have to worry about how they feel when you're leaving somewhere, and you never want to leave. It sucks, but I finally learned that at some point I've got to make decisions for me. I made decisions for other people for a long time, and I suffered. And now I'm old enough to understand that at some point I've got to make decisions that are best for me. Um, in our mixed coverage, we would be man on number one, and we would be palms on 2 and 3. So P block, you'd have to explain that to me differently. We don't play a ton of coverages where we lock up 3 and then play read off 1 and 2. We don't do a ton of that, but um, in the scenario you're describing, though, you'd have to understand that if your will's tied to the weak side with the running back, then somebody's got to cut the shallow or carry it back. You can't let a shallow go across to a side where. Yeah, so I probably talked about that coverage before, P block, where you could play man on 3 and read on 1 or palms on 1 and 2. Mix for us is man on 1. Um, and palms on 2 and 3. Special, I think we used to call it maybe at some point where we were playing man on 3 to defend the bubble and other things. It's again same scenario to me. So if I'm playing man on somebody and I can't pass her out to them, somebody in the coverage has to be able to cut routes or carry them back because if the will is tied, again to the other side, and it's 3 on the front side, 2 on the back side, and the will is tied to the backside to give me 3-on-2, depending on the coverage we're playing. Now, if the will is just a hook to curl player and the shallow or the crosser can get back to him as a zone player, then I would be okay with that. If the will is a man player on a back and he's on the man side, then nothing from the zone side can get to the man side. So at some point, we've got to cut that route somehow. And that's a little bit um, a little bit of the issues you run to with split field stuff when you try, when you decide to play lock on a side or man on a side. Guys from this, if you're playing man on one side, zone on the other, then guys on the zone side can't let people get across to the man side. So at some point, somebody's got to cut it or somebody's got to take it back, whether it's with their feet, their eyes, carry it the whole way. Somebody's got to carry it back because you can't let somebody from the zone side get across to the man side. So, the combination would be if I locked one side, played zone on the other, where's the extra defender? So if I put the will on the back and the corner on number one, or the will on number two and the corner on number one and empty, I should have an extra safety somewhere that can help me with the crosser. If I'm locking the safety in the corner on 1 and 2, then the will's the extra guy to help me on the crosser. So somebody should be able to help me. But in general, anytime you're playing zone on one side, man on the other, you can't let guys go from the zone side to the man side. It's going to be a disaster. So our term is cut. That means that shallow cannot cross your face no matter what you do. That's just what I call it. Yeah, I think if you have a relationship with kids, it's going to hurt at first, but they're going to understand, why you're doing what you do. You don't choose to leave every year. It's not something I left. It took me 14 years to leave the first time. And I went through 4 different principals. I stayed for as long as I could, did everything I could. And then eventually I had to make a change. So, if you have relationships at your place, it's always going to be tough to leave. But at some point, you got to do what's best for you. You got to take care of you, your family, and make decisions that are good for you. And, I learned the hard way making decisions for other people. I stayed at a place for a long, long time, probably had some chances to leave that I didn't ever pursue. And then eventually I left, and I only left because of administration changes and changes that were beyond my control. I didn't up and leave because I wanted to. So the next 2 times I left, it's because I got fired and needed a job. So, yeah, there's kids everywhere that need you. I certainly, I'm at a new school now for the first time. I've been there for 2.5 years now, and I have amazing relationships there. So if you're a good coach and you care about kids, you're going to make connections and relationships everywhere you go. And unfortunately, the ones that you left, you feel bad for, but you're going to go to a new place and you're going to make relationships there. That's just that's kind of the way that, the business is, unfortunately. So, never easy, but you're making a decision that's best for you. You're making a decision that's best for your family, depending on travel, location, money, economics. So, it's just one of those situations where anytime you change, you got to say goodbye to somebody, but it is what it is. So, and that's the nature of this business, especially the big timers. They're changing every 3 to 4 years, calling a new place home and representing a new place and coming up with a new catchphrase or a new slogan. And, that's just every time you take a job, you're representing that place and you're all in on it. And then when you go to the next job, you're all in on that place. That's what that's what your role is. That's what your job is. You've got to promote a place. You've got to represent a place, and you do it, wholeheartedly, and you do it 110% as long as you're there. And then if you got to move on, you got to move on, so toughest thing to me is like, we're always talking about, we hate the kids transferring, we hate the kids leaving, but then we can leave as coaches. Like, you don't want to be a hypocrite or create a double standard to say, all right, well, look, I got to make a decision for me, but you're not transferring, because that's bullshit. Like, I don't think you can say that. Right. So, I hung at one place for 14, 15 years. I was loyal to that place. I did everything I could to build it, up years, down years. And at that point, I could certainly take a firm stance on telling kids, look, this is the place, this is where we're at. And we don't just pick up and leave when things aren't that great. But again, it's, and that's kind of the landscape of college football now with the transfer portal. If coaches can pick up and leave, if Jim Harbaugh can leave and take a job, then why can't a player leave? Right. I don't know. Watching the Alabama stuff and now what's going to happen with Michigan, I don't know if the 30-day portal window when a coach leaves is a great idea, because it leaves you, if it's not a signing period and you can't do anything about it and your kids leave, you can't replace them until the next signing date. Like, that's a little bit bullshit. But, it is what it is. If a coach can leave, then certainly, players should have the right to leave, right? We can't have a double standard, can't be a hypocrite. If they're leaving for what they think is a better option, then so be it. The reason in high school they leave is completely bullshit. You know, uh, Saying where you're going to have better opportunities or where you think you're going to have a better chance. 99% of that is complete bullshit because if you're that good of a player, colleges are going to find you. If you want to be a college football player, you can do it from just about any program in the country. Are you going to get more exposure somewhere else? Maybe. Are you just a fish in a pond at another place? Probably. If they're looking for you to join their program, how many other kids are they looking for? If they're looking for you to join their program, if you're not what they want, they're going to look for somebody else. So, there's a lot of factors that go into all that, but that's the world we live in right now. The ship has sailed. In a lot of states, at least the state that I work in, the ship has sailed on fighting a recruiting battle. The ship has sailed on the open enrollment battle. We've lost a battle. It's over. You got to live in the world you're in and coach your program the best you can because it's not changing. And I don't know what's going to happen in the NCAA, but right now they've lost the battle. That's not changing anytime soon. So better figure out a way to coach the ones that are there and live in the portal world and the NIL world because that's the world we're in right now. And if that's your profession and that's your job, you better figure out how to handle that platform. And those that can't are going to get passed by. Those that can are going to have a lot of success. And it's becoming the same way in high school, so. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir, Tony. That I'm beyond the point of educating parents. I'm done with that. I'm beyond the point of trying to explain things to parents. They don't get it. They don't understand. They have no idea. And more often than not, kids leave and they end up at a place that says they can do this, this, and that for them, and they end up at the same college they would have ended up at anyway. So, it's beyond the point now to me of educating parents. They don't get it. They're not going to understand. The ones that are disgruntled are always going to form a union and talk to each other. There's going to be other coaches out there that want them, so they're always going to go where they're wanted, quote unquote. It's not that you don't want them at your place. It's just that, hey, at my place, you got to do these things, and you got to. Here's where you are in the program. Here's where you fit. Here's what you got to do. Go to another place, and they want to play you at a certain position to get you over there. Well, once you're there, what do you think they're going to do? You get over there and you say, yeah, come over here. We'll let you play quarterback. You can run our offense. If you get over there and they start losing, you're not going to play fucking quarterback. Sorry. End of story. Everybody's going to do what they need to do to win. Everybody coaches to win games. That's just the way it is. So, that to me stood on that soapbox for 20 years. That ship is gone. It's done. I'm over it. I don't even fight it anymore. I don't care about it anymore. To me, here's how I control it. I won't play any of those schools that I think are doing the things that I don't like. I won't play any of the head coaches that run their program the way that I wouldn't run mine. I try and choose my schedule when I have a chance. Right now, I don't schedule games, so it's irrelevant to me. We're going to play who my head coach says, and that's the end of it. So, when I was a head coach, though, I would certainly take my stand with scheduling and say, all right, you know what? That's fine. I can't stop you from doing it. The state won't stop you from doing it. Screw you. I'm not playing. Don't care if you're 5 minutes down the road. Don't care if you're 5 miles down the road. Don't care what the gate is. I'm not playing. Don't care what the rivalry is. I'm not playing. That's my choice as a head coach. That's where I protect myself as a football coach. And, that's the one place we've kind of lost some of that battle too is, if I have values that I stand for and ethics of how I want to run my program, I should be able to choose who the hell I want to play outside of who's in my district. The state's going to tell me who to play in my district. I'm going to choose my other games. And if we take a hit in the gate, well, then we'll go out and fundraise a different way and try and find a way to because the ADs and administration, it all comes down to economics, paychecks, gates that are big and we need that money to survive. Well, I'm not selling my soul to survive. I'm sorry. I'll find another way to try and help you make money, but I'm not selling my soul to survive. I'm not setting myself up for failure, asking me to go play groups that have a different roster every time I play them. I'm not doing that. So to me, that was always the way as a head coach, I could protect myself. I used to fight for the public. I used to fight for coaches and programs, and it went on deaf ears for a long, long time. So I just stopped doing it. And I'll have my own way of how I protect myself and my program. And that's my right. If I get to schedule games, that's my choice. If the AD and the principal don't agree, well, then they're going to make a change or I'm going to make a change because I'm not living in that world. You only have so many checks and balances. You only have so many ways to protect yourself. And if 5 or 6 games, the state tells you who you need to play, well, I'm going to play those games because I'm in your association. The other 5, I'm going to find games that I want to play. And if that's a problem, then they need a new head coach and I need a new spot. So, again, I've been through it. I've been moved twice. I've been fired twice. Not a big deal. I've never not had a job. So I'm not those things don't really concern me, all that much, but I just think we've, um, ship has sailed in that regards. In my opinion, it's just completely off the rails with and I think it's coming in almost every state. I know it's taken over our state by far. Um, but I've got kids at my program. We've got kids. I'm going to coach the hell out of those kids, and whoever they want to leave, leave. If somebody else wants to come, come. I'm not going to not asking you to come, and I'm not asking guys to stay. That's just the way it is. If you like what we do, stay. If you don't like what we do, leave. Good luck to you. Like we're currently in a situation where the state changed classification. Just they're how they classify. They changed again. Probably the 5th or 6th time it's happened in my career in Florida. Everybody's complaining about it. Teams are leaving. You do what's best for your high school. If you want to leave the association, leave the association. Don't come back. That would be my only thing. Like it's same thing I told players. You can make any choice you want. If you leave, do not come back. Don't go somewhere else. Don't come back to me. Don't come back to this program. I wish you all the best. You don't have to stay, but when you leave, you're done. Be gone. You already told me once I'm not good enough. You're not telling me again. And I would, in the state of Florida right now, I'd take the same approach if I was on the association committee. You can choose to go to a different conference. You can choose to go independent. Your choice. That's best for your program. Wish you all the best. Do not come back. I don't want you back. I'm not asking you back. Not happening. So, but that's not the world we live in right now, right? If a really good player leaves and he's not happy where he goes and he wants to come back and he's a really good player, a lot of people take him back. Well, that's part of the problem we're in. That's part of the reason we're in this problem to begin with. It's part of the reason the NFL has issues. Good players get away with shit that people shouldn't get away with because they're good players. And you can't build a team that way. You can't build a program that way. You can't build a franchise that way. It's one way or the other. And, again, I think we're too far gone in a lot of areas to fix that. So enough ranting on all that bullshit. Let's get into X's and O's. Let's talk some scheme. Third down, I wanted to be a third down talk tonight. What are you doing on third down on offense? What are you doing on defense? I fell in love with third down deals this year. We had a bunch of different deals, a bunch of different sim pressures and cut coverages and pop outs and, showing a lot of house presentations and popping guys out based on the turn of the center and peeling the back and, just a lot of stuff I had never done in the past because I really didn't buy into it. And then I lost the game last year with the lead and third down situations. Our base defense, our base pressures weren't good enough. So I made some changes and it worked out really well for us this year. So, it's one of those deals where, I love what we do on third down. I love a lot of things that are going on offensively. You got to have a third down answer. You got to have some, ways to create first downs when you're on third down. So it's, to me, I always think it's a great topic, right? Now obviously down and distance is the big deal. Like stay in third and manageable as an offense and you're probably going to win. Defensively, get them behind the sticks and into third and what you think is third and manageable. So like anything that was 3rd and 6 or more, we had a lot of our exotic pressure packages and we felt pretty good about them. And if they ran the ball, we were going to try and play the run on our way to the quarterback. And, those deals worked out really, really good for us. The key for us was getting into those situations because we weren't very big. We weren't, physical enough up front to stop some teams from running the ball and staying ahead of the chains and, ahead of schedule. So, it's one of those deals where if we could get to that world, we loved it. And I think that's what football is all about. As an offense, I got to get into third and manageable. As a defense, you got to get into third and manageable. And the more you do that, I think that team wins more games. 5-man peel with 2 rats underneath. Who has a running back? if he does happen to release up through the line instead of flat with one of the interior rushers. If we were 5-man peel pressuring, then I would tell one of the underneath rat players, if the back is to your side, he's your responsibility, whether he's vertical to the flat. Now you could get away with in between the tackles if you have a post player. If it was 5-man with 2 rats and there's no post player, then, I think somebody's got to, I would always tell the 2 rat players when we did it this year, the back is your responsibility if he gets out. If he gets out to your side, he's your responsibility. That's the way I described it. Now, when we have 6-man peel pressured before, we have certainly told some of the interior guys, or even when we use some of our 7-man pressure stuff, whoever the back blocks, you have to own the back, right? I can't tell you that the back's going to, but it's easy to say peel, and if the back blocks you or releases, he's your guy. Well, what if they unchain the 3 technique and a back, makes contact with the 3 technique? In those deals, I would always tell every player in the deal, if the back blocks you, you own the back, you become responsible for the back. That's just the way we've done it, at times. And, in the 2-man rat stuff that we ran a pretty good amount of this year. So we sent 5, played man with 2 underneath rat players, no post player. The reason for that was it helped me defend runs. It helped me defend quarterback scrambles, screens, some other deals. I didn't think when we were sending 5 that, I didn't think I always needed help over the top because of the passing game that I saw. So we were able to do that this year. And I always told the 2 rat players, you're responsible for the back out on your side. You have to collect the back. And every time we put one of those pressures in, I would always talk to the 2 rat players and I said, all right, who's collecting the back? And I expected each one to say, well, coach, it's me on this side. Hey, it's me on this side. And the bigger one, to be honest with you, P-Block, is who's got, in some of those deals, how you handling the quarterback on the back end. Hopefully your edge blitzers are handling it, but, you're playing man. So your secondary guys are out of the equation. So to me, we also had to address how we were handling quarterback in the run game on read game stuff, because that becomes a little bit of an issue. Suggestions on identify protections. Was tough to see pictures at times this season, make 3rd down planning. I think the easiest ways are, do they turn to the field? Do they turn to the boundary? Do they turn to the back, away from the back? Like, I don't think teams that are, are they full slide and they're going to put the back on the edge? Are they half slide? Now the center's got to turn somewhere. So you got to look at film. Is he turning to the field? Is he turning to the boundary? Is he turning away from the back? Like, I think, and I agree with you, I think it's tough in high school. I think in college they have enough scenarios and quality film to go through to say, all right, look, it appears to me that in this formation he turns away from the back. When it's 7-man protection, they put a back on each edge. They slide and put the backs on the same edge. I think it's easier for those guys, than it is for us at times. But I don't think there's a lot of options on offense. You full slide and put the back on the edge. You half slide and the center goes away from the back most of the time. Some teams have a tendency to put the center to the boundary. Some teams have a tendency to put the center to the field. Those are the things to me that you're looking for, and you're trying to, analytically, statistically, probability wise, you're trying to determine where the protection goes so you can attack the protection and hopefully get your games away from the center turn, because that's the biggest deal, right? If you attack the side the center turns to and you get a zone side, a lot of your games don't get home because they're zoning it off. If you can get away from the zone side, now you get in a man world. Who's on the back? How do we get after the back? How do we get 2 on the back? Obviously, that's where you want to diagram your pressures from and where you want to be able to send your pressure deals from. So, to be honest with you, I for a long time, and even this year at times with our 3rd down stuff, like I didn't approach it as attack and protections. I just approached it as, hey, what can we do that's going to give people issues? Because I can't tell where the center's turning. I don't know how I can't understand what their rules are for protecting. So you know what? Here's what we're going to do, because I think it gives any offense issues. And here's how we're going to create pressure. And here's how we're going to generate pressure, but only send 4. Here's how we're going to actually pressure and send 5, 6, 7. And to me, the bigger deal with that is if you can pressure early and create the illusion of pressure, which is what I think happened in the national championship game. I think Michigan pressured early and got home and rattled Penix a little bit. And from there on, everything was, a lot of sims and creepers and simulated heavy pressures that bailed out into, rush 4, drop 7. and it affected the rhythm of the quarterback because they had already hit him a bunch of times. So, if you could heat the guy up early with some pressures, I think you can then back off and go to some other deals where you can create pressure just by the illusion of pressure. So just the thought of pressure coming is gonna affect the quarterback, and that's what I think happened. Again, in my limited knowledge of what happened in the national championship game, from what I saw, that's what I think happened. I think they got to him early, they heated him up early, and then later on they were able to back out and show the illusion of pressure and still create pressure, only sending 4, dropping 7 because he was already rattled. He had already been hit a couple times, so now those looks had him spooked, and it affected his rhythm the rest of the night. So cover one. So you were doubling the best guy they had, or you were choosing who you were doubling, or how did you determine that, Con? No, ours are all scripted. I don't give our players freedom to do much of anything. You know, some of our coverage looks and our disguises, there's a little more freedom there. But as far as the sims, we're designed to show a certain look and bring pressure from a different way. And we want to design that. We want to draw it up. We want to show it the way we want to show it because I want to create in my game planning. I want the sim to be the one that we created, knowing what they're trying to do. I would think in the sim world, you would get in a little bit of trouble having your guys have the ability to choose what they want it to do simply because you may not get the picture you want to get home from where you're trying to get home. Um, in that world. So we didn't give our guys any freedom from that standpoint. Yeah, I mean, anytime you're doubling, it's their best player. It's where the ball goes most often. Most often, it's hey, we're going to double the outside. Hey, we're going to double the inside. Um, I know Belichick's been a one double guy for a long time, and they always have ways to bracket and double whoever they think the best player is, or the best player by formation. Get into certain formations, and the ball goes to a certain position. So when they get into certain sets, the ball goes to the slot. Well, when they're in that set, double the slot. If it's a guy that you absolutely have to handle, well, then double him and make somebody else beat you. So I think that's certainly, a world that you can live in as long as your other guys can hold up in man coverage. So if you're doubling somebody, you're going to lose people somewhere else. Our best third down deals this year were all heavy presentation pictures with pop outs and guys, playing man coverage, but getting guys underneath throws that the quarterback thought he could make based off the pressure presentation and just putting a body. We didn't necessarily match those routes. We just popped guys out into areas that were in the quarterback's vision. And now he goes to throw a ball and he's got bodies. He thinks he's getting zero or man, and he's throwing a ball into windows where there's opposite colored jerseys. And then week to week trying to change who the pop out guys were. For us, it was more, it was a group of 11 guys that were athletic. It would be our nickel dime, however you want to classify it, but there were no D linemen on the field. Everybody was a linebacker or a safety or a corner. And again, it had to be the right situation. Couldn't do that on 3rd and 4. 3rd and 7 plus, some weeks 3rd and 6 plus. And then again, we were fortunate enough with some of the stunts, the movements, and what we were doing that we could stop people from running the ball in those packages. But for us, it was I could week to week could choose to pop out whoever I wanted to pop out because those were all guys that could drop because we do nothing, or at least I do nothing where I drop D linemen. I do nothing where, I pop D linemen out. That's not a deal for me. It's not what I believe in, especially at the high school level. We're going to show mug presentations. We're going to show walk-up presentations, and we're going to pop out guys that can pop out. So nickel dime, our third down package deals are 11 athletes on the field. So I think they all need to be able to pop out. At least the guys involved in the pressure presentation need to pop out. But again, that's how we do it, right? It's not standard operating procedure. That's not what you have to do. It's not what you need to do. That's just what we did on third down. That's how we approach third down stuff. And, again, we started seeing later in the season, we started seeing more run game stuff because teams knew, that when that personnel group came on the field, they knew what the presentation was, right? They didn't know the exact picture of the presentation, but they knew that we were getting into that nickel dime world. So they would try to run the ball on that group. So we had to work on defending some runs later in the year, but the speed, the stunts, the illusion of pressure, a lot of those things run into the run game, and you kind of, you end up making plays on a run game regardless of how often or how great the fit was. It's just the chaos of that package in general kind of defends the run for the most part. Yeah, I mean, if you got the dudes to send 6 and play 0, then God bless you. My changeup would be sending 7 and peeling. If I sent 6 and played 0, I would send 7 and peel. That would be one of the changeups. But if you got those guys, and hell, you're going to line up right to almost every formation. You're going to get everybody covered down. It's just a matter of, do you get home and are your dudes better? That's a pretty good world to live in. Yeah, so anytime you peel, you're gaining an extra guy, right? So all those one doubles or 5-man pressures that become peel, you can gain a guy that doesn't need to cover the back. So now you can rat him, cut crossers, play him on the QB, play him as a spy, play him on screen draw. Like, you can do whatever you want within your game plan as long as you can communicate to your players what that game plan is. But I think, again, I think we're less in that world in high school than college and the NFL are. I wish we were more in that world on third down, certain scenarios being definitely pass downs, because those packages are fun. The kids like it. They're fun to diagram. They're fun to change every week and wrinkle who the pop out guys are or where the sim's coming from. I think the kids love doing it. Again, it's one of those deals where if you can send 5 and pop somebody out, then every week he could spy one week. He can cut crossers one week. He could drop into side adjust windows one week, depending on what the team does. Those can all be game plan deals, because you're sending 5, you're playing man, you're peeling the back, so somebody's free, because you're not playing the back man to man, so you're going to gain a guy somewhere. You can game plan. I think you can game plan where you're gaining that guy all the time, and week to week you can change that, which makes it an even better package. So, I think third downs become exotic. They're fun. I just think our window of when we can use them is so much smaller than college and the NFL, because they get certain windows where it's like, hey, 98% pass, let it rip, let's go. Maybe we got to defend screens. Maybe we got to defend, quarterback runs occasionally or draw plays. But most of the time it's, hey, that's it, 98% pass, let's go. Usually when you see those guys get beat, it's on quarterback scrambles, guys that can extend the play. Especially if you're playing matching concepts where guys are dropping. The reason I like the pop out deal so much, is we're playing man, but we got pop out guys. So if the quarterback gets loose, we should have guys with their eyes on the QB. If you play matching zone principles, guys are going to turn their back a bunch. They're going to relate to routes. And, that's how the quarterback gets out if you don't get home, or if he finds a window that he can get out in. And then they extend drives by gaining, 12, 14, 15 yards on scrambles, because you're either man or you're matching routes. So, that, again, that's part of why we do it. That's part of the analytics. That's part of the game plan. That's part of studying film. The other team has coaches. They're going to study film too. So, third down stuff to me is like the interesting part of, that's where we can really have fun. That's where we can get a little bit exotic with what we're doing. And I never bought into that till about 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I finally bought into it and said, you know what? We lost the game because of this. I'm not doing that again. And that's where we made the change, right? You live and you learn. We were not a big third down exotic team. We were not a big sim creeper team. We were third down. This is what we're playing. And ended up losing a game because of it and made a change. And now, to me, it's part of the most fun I have as a defensive coordinator, is finding guys that can get on the field, guys that are athletic, putting some speed on the field. Guys love showing blitzes and dropping. They love showing drops and blitzing. So, it's fun for the kids. They like doing it. It's successful for us. So, that's pretty much, third down, that's our identity. We show a lot of heavy pressure looks, a lot of mug presentations. We use some boss front at times, and, some load front, however you want to call it. Bigs on the same side, playing a shade, a 3 and a 5, and then trying to dictate where the center is going to turn and win our matchups off of that. So, that to me is a lot of fun. It's fun as a coordinator to draw those things up. As long as you got to keep them same as we don't do brand new shit every week. It's, hey, remember when we did this last week? All right, well, this week when we do it, you're popping out, not you. Or hey, when we do it this week, we're changing the path. Like we try to keep it same as much as possible. I don't try to draw new things every single week on third down. I don't think you can get good at stuff like that. So, um, it's kind of one of those deals where same as much as possible, change the path a little bit, change who to pop out. So, we might be double mug presentation, and one week we pop the 3 techniques out. The next week we pop the inside backers out. The next week we show double 3s, double 5s, double edge, and we pop the 5s out. Like that's just changing the presentation, not the play. It's, if I like the same guys as the pop out guys, then I just change where they line up. There are 3 techniques, there are 5 techniques. I move guys, the pressure guys around them to create the picture that I want. So they're always the pop out guys. So, I think third down becomes a lot of fun, and that's what you need to find. The game is such a grind. Coaching is such a grind. Game plans are such a grind that I think you've got to find a little package where the kids can have some fun, right? Speed packages, nickel dime, using running backs and tight end bodies to rush the passer and drop and getting D linemen off the field. I think that's the fun part, on defense is when you can do some of those things. You're going to stress out all the time over base defense and handling base situations and P and 10s and, standard football situations that you got to handle. That's going to be your job every week. That's the kind of the stressful job. The third down part to me becomes the fun part. Hey, if we can get them into some of these deals, I think we're pretty good. Now the key is, can we get them there? Can we get them into those deals? We'll win a bunch of those deals, we think. But if we can't get them into those, if we can't get them to 3rd and 7, well, then now, that package kind of becomes a waste. So the other part that's hard is trying to determine how much time you can spend on it. Knowing that week to week, some weeks you called it twice, some weeks you called it 10 times. So it's kind of hard to tell your head coach how much time you need to spend on it when week to week, the amount of times you use that packaging or that personnel group changes. So, again, just part of the process, part of what you got to learn. You got to learn how to game plan it. You got to learn how to practice it. You got to learn how to keep things as conducive as possible from week to week. There can be slight wrinkles, but we don't want brand new deals every week, or at least I don't want brand new deals every week. I may want once teams start getting film, I may want to protect my looks with some wrinkles that are similar. Again, change where we line up, change who the pop out guys are, use the same pop out guys, but change where they line up from week to week. So like I said, they're 3s, they're 5s. Maybe they're the double mug guys and we're reading off the center and popping 1 or 2 guys out. We had some deals where we pop 1 guy off the center. We had some deals where we pop 2 guys off the center. So, again, to me, that's the fun part. That's the interesting part. I think third downs on offense should be a ton of fun. I think, seeing the presentations that you're getting and figuring out a way to beat those presentations on offense should be the same amount of fun as it is on defense, right? And I don't call offense anymore, but I would approach it the same way. Obviously, I would try and stay out of those scenarios if I could, but if I got in them, I would try and figure out ways that I can diagram some things to win those scenarios, because that's the part of the game to me that's fun. So I appreciate you guys being here tonight. We've been on for almost an hour now, 54 minutes. Again, like I tell you every week, I've got classes tomorrow. I actually have to give a quiz in class tomorrow that I have to type up tonight and then make copies tomorrow morning. So appreciate everything you guys do for me. Thanks for being here. Great conversations as usual. The more you guys comment, the better these things go. I only have so many things that I want to say. You've already heard a million of the things that I want to say. So you guys posting comments and talking amongst each other and helping each other out, that's why we're here. That's why we do it. Thank you to all of you that are here tonight. Thank you for spending your time. Thank you for coaching football. Be on the lookout. 4 million is coming up real soon. We're about 6,000 views away. So my estimation is we're going to cross 4 million in the next 7 to 9 days, something like that, depending on the analytics and how many views the videos get. But trying to do some things with, some of the companies I work with to do some 4 million deals where maybe we can get some breaks on products, or we can do some giveaways on Twitter or social media, trying to kind of rally around the community and thanking everybody for their support and getting us to 4 million views. So Again, appreciate everything you do. Good luck to you with whatever you got going on this week. Good luck if you still got a team playing in the NFL. Best of luck to you in the offseason. Best of luck to you in the clinic season. I hope everybody is doing their best to get better, staying safe, staying healthy. And you won't play well until you play fast. Appreciate y'all. I'll see you next time.